Picture this. You found a car online. Clean photos. Good price. You drove 40 minutes to see it. The paint looks fresh. The interior smells like new carpet shampoo. The CARFAX the dealer hands you shows a clean title. No accidents. No flood. No salvage. You shake hands, sign the paperwork, and drive it home. 3 weeks later, every warning light on the dashboard comes on at once. The radio cuts out when it rains. There is a smell coming from under the seats that was not there the day you bought it. You take it to a mechanic, and he pulls back the carpet and shows you a waterline halfway up the door panel. Your car sat in 4 feet of hurricane water in Florida 6 months ago. The insurance company totaled it. Someone bought it at auction for $1,200. And right now, it is sitting in your driveway with a clean title from a state that has never seen a hurricane in its history. That is not a hypothetical. That is a documented pattern that affects nearly 800,000 vehicles on American roads right now. In Mississippi, 1 in every 44 cars on the road carries a wash title. The national average is 1 in 325. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to make sure you never bring one of them home. I spent 15 years inside the used car industry. Dealer lots, wholesale auctions, finance offices. I have seen how these cars move through the system, how the paperwork gets scrubbed, and how they end up looking spotless on a lot 3 states away from where they drowned. This is the full breakdown. How title washing works, why the law has not stopped it, and the exact tools you can use to protect yourself before you spend a single dollar. There is a reason this works. And the reason is not criminal genius. The reason is math. The used car market in this country moves over $800 billion a year. When a hurricane hits, insurance companies total thousands of vehicles in a matter of days. After Hurricane Ian alone, a single salvage auction house listed 9,968 flood vehicles for sale on one day. October 18th, 2022. One auction. One day. Nearly 10,000 drowned cars entering the pipeline. And it was not just old beaters. Brand new cars parked at franchise dealerships in Florida were submerged and declared total losses. Those cars were later resold to buyers across the country at full retail prices as if nothing had happened. When they started having catastrophic electrical failures weeks later, the buyers discovered the manufacturer had completely voided the warranty due to undisclosed flood damage. These were not backyard operations. These were cars that came through what looked like legitimate channels. Now here is where the math gets dangerous. According to CopArt, cars declared non-repairable total losses sell at auction for an average of about $1,200. A scammer buys one of those cars, dries it out, details the interior, replaces the carpet, plugs in a code scanner and clears every diagnostic trouble code the waterlogged computer stored. And now they have a car that looks and smells like any other used vehicle on any other lot. But the title still says salvage, or flood, or non-repairable. That piece of paper is the only thing standing between a $1,200 wreck and a $15,000 to $30,000 sale. So they move the paper. Every state in this country has its own rules for what counts as a salvage vehicle, its own definitions, its own thresholds. 22 states do not even set a fixed threshold for when a car is declared a total loss. They leave that decision entirely to the insurance company. And 6 states plus the District of Columbia still do not consistently report title brand data to the federal system that is supposed to track this. That is 2 layers of gaps. The first decides whether the car gets branded at all. The second decides whether that brand follows the car when it crosses a state line. Scammers do not need both gaps. Either one is enough. You register the car in a state that does not recognize the previous state-specific brand. The new state sees no brand it understands. It issues a clean title. The flood history is gone. Not hidden. Legally erased. The Pennsylvania Attorney General's office dismantled a fraud ring that was doing exactly this. Dealers and shell companies across multiple states, buying totaled cars, routing the paperwork through states with weaker branding laws, and selling them to families in Pennsylvania at full retail. This was not a single bad actor. This was an operation with infrastructure. And the buyer has almost no way to know, because the title in their hand says clean. So here is how you see what the title does not show you. The first thing you do before you drive to see any car is check the VIN through the National Insurance Crime Bureau. Go to nicb.org/VIN check. It is completely free. You get 5 searches every 24 hours. You type in the 17-character VIN, which you can find on the lower driver's side windshield or the door jamb sticker, and a database tells you if that vehicle was ever reported as stolen, salvage, or total loss by a participating insurance company. This takes 30 seconds. It costs nothing, and it catches cars that paid reports sometimes miss, because the NICB database pulls directly from insurance company filings. If a car was totaled in a flood and the title was later washed in another state, the insurance record does not move with the title. It stays in this database. The title may be clean. The insurance file is not. That one check can save you from driving home a car that no insurance company will ever cover again. A flood history does not just drop the value by up to 50%, according to Experian. It voids the manufacturer's warranty, every extended service contract, every protection plan. You are on your own for every electrical failure, every corroded sensor, every mold colony growing inside the ventilation system. And those failures are not a question of if. They are a question of when. The second tool is a vehicle history report, but you need to understand what it can and cannot do. CARFAX is the name most people know. A single report costs $44.99 in 2026. But here is the critical detail. You pull that report yourself using the VIN from the door jamb. You do not use the printout the dealer hands you. There is a documented case out of California where a dealer printed a CARFAX with the accident and flood pages removed. The buyer found out a week later when her mechanic told her the frame had been welded back together. Pull it yourself. And when you read it, go straight to the title history section. You are looking for state-to-state movement. A car that was registered in Florida, then suddenly pops up in Ohio, then appears on a lot in Pennsylvania. That geographic hopscotch is the signature of title washing. The car is not moving because someone relocated. It is moving because someone is shopping for a state that will issue a clean title. Auto Check, run by Experian, costs $29.99 for a single report and is worth running alongside CARFAX. Auto Check monitors salvage auction data from Copart and IAA more aggressively. If the car passed through a salvage auction before it ended up on that dealer lot, Auto Check is more likely to catch it. Everything I have shown you so far is what you can do from your phone before you leave your house. But stay here, because the next part is what you do when you are standing in front of the car. And this is where most buyers get caught, because a washed flood car can look perfect to the naked eye. Before I continue, I put together a complete guide called the Used Car Buyer's Vault. It contains every tool I mention in my videos with exact models and prices, a printable 50-point red flag checklist you can take to any lot, word-for-word negotiation scripts, and a step-by-step VIN decoder walkthrough. The link is in the description. But stay here, because the physical inspection I am about to walk you through is the one thing no title report can replace. When you arrive at the car, you bring two things. The first is an OBD2 scanner. A basic unit like the Motopower MP69033 costs $17 on Amazon. You plug it into the port under the driver's side dashboard. You turn the ignition to the on position without starting the engine. You navigate to the IOM readiness screen. What you are looking for is whether the monitors say ready or incomplete. If every single monitor reads incomplete, someone recently wiped the car's computer. A healthy car that has been driven normally will have most or all monitors showing ready. A car where every monitor is blank has had its memory erased. That is not proof of flood damage by itself, but it is proof that someone did not want you to see what the computer had stored. That is reason enough to walk away. If you do not want to buy a scanner, AutoZone, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and Advance Auto Parts will scan codes for free in the parking lot. Drive the car there. Ask them to plug in. 5 minutes. The second thing you bring costs about $40. A pinless moisture meter. The KHP pinless moisture meter is available on Amazon and Home Depot. You press the flat sensor against the floor carpets, the trunk liner, and underneath the seats. A dry car reads low. A car that sat in water will show elevated moisture in the carpet padding and the foam underneath, even months after the flood. Water gets trapped in layers that no amount of detailing can fully dry. If you do not have a moisture meter, there is a free version. Close all the windows on a warm day. Sit inside the car for 2 full minutes with the air conditioning off. Press your bare hand deep into the carpet at the lowest points of the floor. If you smell mildew, or if that carpet feels even slightly damp, that car has a water history. And while you are there, check 3 more things that cost nothing. Open the headlights and taillights. Look for condensation or a visible fog line inside the housing. Pop the hood and look at the bolts holding brackets and ground straps. If the car sat in water, those bolts will have a rust pattern that does not match the rest of the engine bay. And pull back the edge of the trunk carpet. If you see a fine silt line or dried mud in crevices that have no reason to be dirty, that car was underwater. A consumer bought a used Toyota Celica that smelled fine on the lot. After a few weeks sitting in the sun, the dealer's masking sense broke down and the entire car reeked of basement mold. It was a wash-tidal flood car from New York that had been through Hurricane Ida. That smell was always there. It was just buried under detailing chemicals the same way the title was buried under new paperwork. Now step back and look at what you have. A free 30-second VIN check through the NICB. Your own history reports for $30 to $45. A $17 scanner that reads the computer's memory. A $40 moisture meter. 3 zero-cost visual checks. Total cost of every tool in your hands right now, under $100. The car you just walked away from would have cost you $20,000 in hidden damage, voided warranties, and electrical failures that start 6 months from now and never stop. $100 to prevent a $20,000 mistake. That is not a purchase. That is the best insurance policy you will ever own. The next time you walk onto a lot and the salesperson says the car has a clean title, you will already have the NICB results on your phone. You will have a scanner in your glove box and a moisture meter in the back seat. You will crouch down and check the headlights for fog. You will press your hand into the carpet before you ask a single question about price. And the salesperson will know, before you say a word, that you are not the buyer they were hoping for, because you will not ask if the title is clean. You will already know whether it is. Someone you know is going to buy a used car in the next 60 days. They have never heard of title washing. They are going to trust the title the dealer hands them and drive home a car that an insurance company declared dead. One share changes that. Everything shared here is general consumer information. Always have a qualified mechanic perform a full pre-purchase inspection before buying any used vehicle.